Okay, this is chapter 7, and I'm going to use an English drawing and English standard IPT, create. Now we've talked a little bit about document settings and application options under tools. Go to application options in Sketch. We talked about you could turn the grid lines on. Part. If you want to start on the XY plane or another plane every time, you could change this so that when you first opened up, it would take you to a sketch plane. Right now it's set to no new sketch. And look at sketch. You see some of these default settings. Auto project origin on sketch create. There was another one. Look at sketch plane on sketch creation and edit. So if your computer ever acts funny and you want to take a look at those settings, you can. So I'm going to close. I didn't change any of the settings, but now I'm ready to get started. I'm going to go back to the 3D model tab, and I'm going to look at I don't have the PowerPoint pulled up, but it is the item. Okay, this is the item we're going to draw, so I'm going to start with this part that's shaped like a slot. I'll draw that first, and then I'm going to draw the half round section, and then I'm going to draw the rectangle cut through it in the hole. So looking at this portion at the bottom, slot is an option of rectangle, and that's what I'm going to use to draw that. Looking at this particular object, I can see that this second sketch, which is the half round part, is going to be extruded differently than the bottom part is wide. So if I set up my 0, 0, 0 at the very center of this part, then I'll be able to extrude this one symmetrically. Now, you could do something else. As long as you know where 0 is, you should be fine. So I'm going to minimize that and get started on this. I'm going to start a sketch, and I'm going to start a sketch on the top plane. Looking at the rectangle, I've got an option of slot that is center point. So I'm going to use that one. I'm going to click on the center point. I'm going to go this direction, and then grow that direction, and now I'm going to dimension it. The dimension that way is 5. Zoom out. You can see that that stays in the center. If I don't believe it, I can come in here and dimension from here to here, and it'll say it's over constrained, but that's okay. This makes me feel better to know that it's the right dimension. This is supposed to be 1, and both of those should change. Yep, it did. Just check that. And then I'm going to put some holes in here. One here, and then one here. When I did this before, I did not snap somehow to the center. So anytime that happens, you can add a concentric snap between here and here. But I think that snapped to that one, so we should be fine. It's 0.5, and this one is supposed to be equal to that one, so I'm going to point to it. So you have to be sure that's in blue. Point to it. Okay, it wants to be ugly. Okay, finally. Okay, so that was worked out, and I've got it centered to 0, 0, 0. Right click, finish sketch. Zoom out a little bit, give that a thickness. I'm just going to go up. You can go up or down as long as you realize which is which. 0.5. And then for the next one, the textbook talks about changing the wireframe if you want to, but you don't necessarily have to. But I'm going to go to the house here, and I'm going to go to the origin. I think this is something that was in the beginning of the PowerPoint. But I want to look at these planes, and you notice I can turn the visibility on. I can right-click, turn visibility on, right-click, turn visibility on, and I can see all of my planes. So now, if I'm choosing to draw in the center of this part, I can do Start Sketch and actually see where that is. If I'm through with the others, I can erase I can turn off the visibility, which I will in a minute. But I'm going to draw a circle, and I want my circle to be centered at the bottom plane. And that circle is 1.75. I think that's the radius. Yep. So let me double click inside of that and say 2 times. Then I'm going to draw a line, and I want to snap to here and here. If I did this one time and I couldn't snap there, so what I did was I projected the geometry of a line. I believe that one worked out. I'm just going to turn it to wireframe view, visual style, wireframe, and then see there is my line in there. So I'm going to go back to sketch. I'm going to go to trim, get rid of this piece. So that should extrude for me. I'm going to go back to view, visual style, change it back to shaded with edges. And I'm going to turn off, if I can, let's see, get out of my line command. Right click, turn visibility off, visibility off, visibility off. So then, right click, finish sketch. I'm going to do an extrusion. It should pick that. I'm going to do it symmetrically. And the symmetric length is 2.5. So you see, now that extruded it differently than the other part was wide. Okay, I'm going to start a new sketch on this surface. I'm going to draw a rectangle. Just use 2-point rectangle. Fix it. The length here. Now, before I adjust that, I'm going to go ahead and put a center dimension in there. And I'm going to point to that dimension even though it's not correct and say divided by 2. And now when I adjust that dimension, I should keep my center, and that one is 2. And then I'm going to dimension from here to here, make that 0, and then this dimension was 1. So that one's finished. Right click, finish sketch. Then I've got an extrude, and that's a cut, and I want it to go all the way. Click OK. Now I'm going to show you a feature that, sometimes you have designs and your boss wants you to modify it, or maybe you've got this part and it's got a rectangular hole for some of the parts, and it's got a different kind of hole for other parts. So instead of deleting that, you can come over here to your extrusion and right click, and you can do suppress feature. So it's like it was never there. So now I can do a different kind of cut. I'm going to use a half round cut. Start sketch on that surface. I'm going to draw a circle, snap to that center. This circle is, they gave me a radius of 1 1/4, so I'm going to say 1.25 times, times 2, and then I'm going to use a line. It brought me up a snap point there and one there, so that's good. And I'm going to trim this up. It's telling me I need another dimension. Let's see what that is. Okay, that's fine. It just made sure I was forced to go to 0. Right click, finish sketch, and then that one has an extrude cut, used all the way. And now I've got a hole to cut in here, and whether I'm using the round cut or the rectangular cut, I still have this hole. So that's a round surface. However, if I draw the hole on this surface and line it up where I need it to be on that curve, then it's going to cut, and I do cut all, it's going to cut all the way through space and through that part. So I'm going to start a sketch on this surface, and I'm going to draw a hole, snap to my center here, and that hole is 1/4 inch. Oops. And then right click, finish sketch, and then I'm going to do an extrude cut, and then I'm going to go all, and click OK. So now I've got my object, and I've got a half round cut in it. If I turn this back on, unsuppress, then do have something a little weird. It's like a cat with ears or something. If I try to suppress that one, then I'm probably suppressing my hole as well. No, I didn't. Okay. I guess because the half round was done first and then the hole. So you see, I've got either one that I could go back to, all within the same drawing. One more thing I wanted to show you, and that's actually making the part look like it's more real. Tools, material, and then I'm going to choose this one, and there's 2 buttons beside of it. The one far on the right says add material to document and display in editor. So I click that one, and then I get to this dialog box, click on appearance, and I increase the glossiness, and then for the color, if I use that left click, and notice as soon as I clicked on increase my glossiness, I actually have a glossy look over here, and I've got it here too. But I'm going to change my color just to make that a little bit more dramatic, and get out. Yes, I want to save my edits. Get out of that one. So that's what the part looks like. Kind of shiny, and light hitting it a certain way. So that is it.